What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Visions of the Force. Welcome back to Project Potter, guys. My name is Kyle, your host. This is our Star Wars Visions in review. This is episode 3, guys. If you've been catching up with the series, I absolutely loved episode 1. Did not really like episode 2. This one's kind of somewhere in the middle. So if you guys haven't seen the show before, welcome. These are very quick reviews. It is a very, very, very quick recap. Favorite aspect of the episode, my favorite character, and a score out of 10. So here we go. So guys, very basic story premise here, kind of a weird story premise. There's two twins, they were born on the dark side. It's basically a Luke and Leia story, except they're working for the Empire. We start off by kind of very quickly revealing that there's a Star Destroyer, and then oh, that's cool, and then another Star Destroyer, and there's a cannon that's linked between both of them. It turns out there's these crystals there's two crystals that only, we're going to call them Dark Leia and Dark Luke, have access to. But it's weird because they're getting ready to launch, and Dark Leia, and I'll put their real names, probably I'll edit in here so that we know what we're referencing. But for the purposes of this review, guys, Dark Leia, Dark Luke. Dark Leia is ready to fire, because basically they talk about how it's the Death Star where it can destroy a planet, but they have to use the crystals that are powering their suits, and also only two people have access to it. So Dark Leia is ready to go, and then they're like, wait, where's Dark Luke at? And they look over, and zooms in his chair, it's missing, and they're like, okay, so Luke obviously took the crystal, and he's going with, I think his name is R2-Duo, or R-Duo or something, I don't know. I'll probably edit that in too, but he's going off, and he's like, it's okay, very reminiscent of Luke. He's like, they're not going to discover us. The troopers immediately find him. They say, oh, set it to stun. They shoot at him. Cool scene because he stops them, and then he whips them to the side. He's like, sorry about that. They keeps going. They go to leave in the X-Wing, and his armor gets blown off, or he says I refuse, and then he busts out of his armor. Dark Leia is after him, and he's going to leave with the crystal. She actually, really cool scene where she uses the Force to stop the X-Wing, and then she pulls it back. She's so strong with the Force that she pulls it back, and then eventually the X-Wing gets blown out. Dark Luke goes down there. They have a fight, but it's so obvious that Dark Luke is a good guy, normal Luke Skywalker, and so I don't understand, because he was born from the dark side, why he's not why she's so evil and he's not, unless she got all the evil. But he was designed in a lab, or he was designed to be dark, so it doesn't make any sense. But basically they get in a fight, guys, where it's a cool Force fight, I guess, but they're out in space, and there's cool particles everywhere. I'm not a huge fan of this art style, honestly, but the ideas in this episode I really like, or some ideas I should say. Dark Leia and Dark Luke are fighting. They kind of go back and forth, and then it turns out that the crystal, they kind of shatter the crystal that they're fighting over. Dark Leia is I want to control the power. I'm going to use the power. Luke is no, dude, you can't do that. That's gonna overwhelm you. And then we get a really, really cool scene where he's uses the Force to look into the future, and he shows her this is your future if you use the crystal, and it's her sprawled over an exorcism basically, and she's being consumed by the dark power, and he's you can't use that crystal, you won't be able to control its power. And then she breaks the illusion. She's like, dude, I know what I'm doing, okay? And I'm classic mistake. So Luke eventually gets tossed aside, and then she starts using the crystal. There's too much power. Eventually R-Duo, I think his name is, he goes and gets the X-Wing and kind of saves Luke, and then he's oh, there's too much power, so I need to I need to break the crystal, because she puts the crystal in her suit, but Luke's I need to break the crystal, but the only way I can do it is if hyper speed, but I used the lightsaber. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. And so he's oh, but I would never do something that reckless. And that's a nice moment, because our duo starts the engines, and he starts going, and then they flip upside down, and he's just got this lightsaber with this Force beam coming out, and it just looks a little ridiculous. And he comes at the Star Destroyer and just starts ripping through it, and then right when they're getting to Dark Leia, R2-D2 or R-Duo, whatever, he hits the hyperspeed drive, and then he's no, it's your choice, because she's oh, our mission is going to fail if you destroy the crystal. That's our whole life's mission. And he says no, as long as you're alive, you have a choice to choose your destiny, or whatever. And I'm why are you so good? You were born in the dark side. You were created in a dark lab to do evil things like your sister's doing. Why are you different? It doesn't make any sense. They're twins. That's like, it's not, you're not just like born years apart. They're supposed to be twins. So, I mean, it doesn't say identical twins, but that's the idea. And it's just like, so they hyperspeed through it, which it looks kind of cool, but it like breaks the crystal, and then they end up on another planet, and then she ends up being saved by like evil C-3PO, who like puts on a space helmet, but she's a robot. Why does he need that? It doesn't make any sense. Luke also can breathe in space with her. I guess because they're so strong with the Force, it makes sense. But basically, he goes away, and it's like they just wanted to do that so they could have like the hyperspeed shot, like they did in is it Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker? I don't remember. Anyway, that really cool scene I'll probably put in here. It's like they just want to copy that. So, yeah, it ends up with Luke on a distant planet, like a desert. I was hoping he would go to like Dagobah, but he doesn't. And he's like, oh, you know, my sister's out there. Like, I'll find her somewhere or whatever. And he says, because she's my twin sister. And it's like, in case you fucking forgot, in the 15 minutes since you've been watching this, but that's how the episode ends. Okay, guys, my favorite aspect of this has got to be the control of the Force. So specifically that scene where Luke says like, this is, and again, guys, I'm just saying Luke and Leia because I didn't look up the characters' names before recording this, and it's just easier, and you guys know what I'm talking about. The boy twin and the girl twin, like, you know. When Luke shows her he's like, oh, I tapped into the Force and I could see into the future. I'm like, that's so cool. I love that they're so powerful with the Force that he's like, I can do this and show you that this isn't going to work for you. And she doesn't believe him, of course. She's like, no, I'm going to control the power. But we haven't really seen that. Yoda has seen, like, you know, hate leads to suffering, suffering leads to, or fear leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, suffering leads to the dark side. Like, we've seen Yoda hint that he can see in the future and stuff, but we've never been like, oh, I can use the Force to show you what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. And so that was really cool, and that kind of command of the Force was my favorite aspect of the episode. Okay, guys, a favorite character for this one, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't really crazy about either of the two twins, so I'm actually going to go ahead and say evil 3PO was the coolest one, I guess, because it was like, oh, like, we never have seen a 3PO on the dark side. And we've seen glimpses of it with when they go to the base or they go to see Vader or Cloud City or whatever, and there's like 3POs walking around, but we've always known like good 3PO. So he's not super evil in this one, but it is cool to see him as like the henchman or like the right-hand man, but he's not like pushing an agenda. He's just kind of like serving Dark Leia. So yeah, like I said, I wasn't crazy about either twins because it was very obviously Luke and Leia, and Leia was so evil and he was so good, and I'm like, all right, we've seen this before. So evil 3PO is my favorite character for this one. Okay, guys, that brings us to the score. Like I mentioned at the top of this review, super high on the first episode, pretty low on the second one. This is kind of in the middle. This one is a 7.7 for me. I wasn't crazy in love with this art style. Also, one thing I do want to shout out, guys, I obviously would dream to make anything even remotely as cool as this, so I don't want to shit on the animators or shit on the developers or whatever. I think each one of these is designed by a different studio, because it says, like, I think this was Trigger, I think is who it was, and it'll say like Trigger Presents, and it's like really, really cool, because I think they have like 9 different studios, which is why the animations are so different. So I want to thank them, because it's incredible what they've done. Just personally as a consumer, it's not my favorite animation style. Some of it looked a little too cartoony. It looked a little weird. I'm a bigger fan of the style in the first episode, and not the last two. Haven't really vibed with me as much, but it's still like, it's really cool to see the 3, because these have been 3 distinct styles where it's like very much old school hand-drawn style. Then we had more of like a anime cartoon, and then this one is like a little bit of a mix between anime and also like their own style. So again, it's cool. It's not for me, but yeah, I just thought this episode focused too much on borrowing things from Star Wars, where it's like, hey, you know Luke and Leia? Guess what? Well, this is the same thing, except they're going to be evil. And I'm like, that's an awesome idea. Except why is Luke so good? You know, why is he just randomly like they give him the dark armor and stuff? It's almost like a secret, like he's like a spy or a mole. But the idea is that he's been like born in the lab and raised to be evil, and presumably has been evil this whole time, because he got to the chair and he would have had to do things like you know, they don't just like worship them right away. I'm sure they went to planets and killed people and stuff like that. So I'm just like, and so he's suddenly going to be good, and it's just like, it's just weird. Where I'm just like, I don't know. And like the hyper speed thing, they totally ripped that off of the movie. So it's like, okay, we've seen that before. The lightsaber thing into the crystal was really weird because it's like, why wouldn't that kill her? So that was strange. There's just a lot of things that I was like, all right. And then they had the 2 moons at the end there, and he's like, because she's my twin sister, in case you forgot. And it's like, I guess. So yeah, just like an okay episode. Okay, guys, that's it. That's another episode of Visions of the Force. So again, guys, these are quick reviews. There's not too much to go on here. I do like that the episodes are shorter, so you can kind of just rip through these. But I hope you guys enjoy the content. Thanks for checking out Project Potter. Go check out the other content. If you guys did like the content, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing. It really does help me out. And until next time, guys, may the Force be with you.